Here we go. Q&A with the side of Minecraft. That'll be the seed for my world. Default, generate structures, so on and so forth. Alright, we're good to go. Survival. The only way I ever played this game. Okay, so I wanted to do a thing, guys, because I keep opening the door for Q&A and letting you guys ask questions and then not following up on it properly, and I wanted a consistent way of handling that. And once upon a time, my way of handling it was that I played Tales of Zestiria for about an hour, and I was... I was grinding in that game for a little while, and that was basically what the content was. It was me grinding while talking and answering questions, and that worked out really well for me, because the game is distracting in just the right way to make things flow. And that's probably because I'm predisposed to operate this way because of the fact that I spent so much time doing Let's Plays already. So it just kind of works out for me. And so I picked a game that I can just kind of absent-mindedly play and that I get a great deal of enjoyment out of, but probably was not going to do a full series on at any point because of the inherent oversaturated nature of it and how open-ended everything is, because you're just in a world doing whatever you want, and I have no idea how to do solo commentary for Minecraft for the purposes of actually doing a Let's Play about the game. Wait, I almost built 7 of those, whoops. So, here we are now. I'm doing a Q&A series in Minecraft, which seems like a natural fit, because distractions are good. If I try to sit in a room and just do a Q&A alone, just staring at a computer monitor in a room, it does not work. I've tried multiple times, and I've sat down for the purpose of trying to answer some people's questions before, and just sitting quietly in a room just for the purpose of answering questions I have saved in a text document, it just completely stifles any attempt at flowing commentary, because every awkward pause feels like I'm making 100 mistakes at once, and I almost fell in there. Hello. Hello. It's a nice little cave. And I just can't process things that way. I can't just have a conversation with someone because there's no person to have a conversation with. So, not having a person to talk to, I could use the game to distract myself is probably the right thing to do here, and that's what I'm going to go with. So this is going to be a weird series, because the episodes can be whatever length that it takes for me to answer the question, basically. I'm sorry, it bothers me that there's like floating water over there, so I'm going to fix that. Boop. These episodes will just be whatever length it takes for me to answer the question that I set out to answer, basically. And that's just going to be what the series is. A series of Q&A questions, or podcasts, or even vlogs. I may make entire episodes just to do a rant about some topic I feel like discussing that wasn't prompted by anyone in particular, and that's just what can happen. I might podcast for an hour and a half at some point if I feel like doing that. Let's go get our coal and our stone. Oop, that's going to be bad for me. And so that's what this is going to be. And so the idea here is you can leave a comment down below, leave a question, and I will hopefully get around to it at some point to answer it and address it. And in many cases, it might be a relatively basic question about a small subject, but I might expand upon that and discuss various related things for an hour if I feel like it. And that'll be the format of this show, and it'll come out whenever it comes out, not necessarily a daily schedule or a weekly schedule. Might have 3 episodes in a row at one point, then disappear for a month for all I know. And we'll see how receptive people are to it. So today, I don't have a question to answer. I'll be answering questions shortly because I have a bunch of them saved up, because back when I hit around 11,000 subscribers, I did ask for more questions, and I did go and check today and put those in a text document to review them in the future. So those are saved. If you asked a question back then, I'll get to that. But if you want to ask a question here, or even repeat a question, just in case you're not sure if I've seen it or whatever, you feel free to do that too. Oh, getting monsters. But anyway, today I have my own topic I want to discuss. Bloop. And I need to use my crafting table real quick. I should probably bring that in here. Which is the topic of voice, and the topic of why Let's Players talk, more or less. Which is an ongoing question. Because anyone who does commentary will sooner or later get a lot of people, usually, showing up on your channel and telling you to shut up, basically. Or saying they wish... Sorry about that minor interruption. I just sort of started coughing out of nowhere. I'm back, though. But you'll get people showing up when you do Let's Plays with commentary that'll just ask you to shut up, well, command you to shut up, basically, or complain about how much you talk, and ask why you talk so much, and stuff like that. And these are kind of pointless complaints, because ultimately they're just people who are looking for an entirely different kind of content than what you're making. And, that's, that's their fault. In fact, I often will point at viewers and be like, you think this is a criticism, this thing you're saying, which can apply to a number of topics, but really, instead of a criticism, you're just having a problem with the entire approach to how I do everything. And at that point, you should really just be looking for somebody who does this entire thing differently, rather than expecting me to look at your comment and think that I'm going to change how I do everything based on what you said. Because yeah, the much more rational thing is, because there's thousands of people that do stuff similar to what I do, the logical thing is just to find other people that do it the way you want, instead of expecting me to change. But people are far from logical in many cases, and they, if you actually say anything along those lines to them, they mostly just yell at you, because it's the internet, yay! Let's put this down here. Please? There we go. It's been a while since I played this game. It's actually oddly nostalgic. I used to just lose countless hours to this thing all the time. Boop. Oopsie. Dropping things. But yeah, people will just think that they can just tell you to stop doing things the way you do, because that's a reasonable thing to tell somebody who has literally ooh, that was a fast route to copper. They think that that's a reasonable thing to say to somebody who has literally thousands of subscribers and thousands of videos already. Like, oh, but this one person said a thing. I'm going to change my entire approach to this. And to be fair, I should probably build a shovel, actually. They, obviously, in many cases, just don't think things through that far ahead. They're not actually thinking about what the result of their comments are going to be. They're just spewing complaints into the air, because that's what people do on the internet, is just spray their opinions everywhere and don't really think through whether or not it'll have any impact. So they oftentimes don't expect you to respond at all, because they don't expect people to respond, because your average YouTube audience member has only ever experienced what it's like to watch videos on a large channel as opposed to a small one. So they don't even expect their comments to reach me. On a side note, that leads to weird comments where someone will talk to, there was a weird transition when I was growing as a channel where the comments used to always be directed directly towards me, saying the words like "you" and stuff like that. But then now they start saying stuff like "this guy," like this weird impression of someone walking up in front of you, then turning around to face some invisible audience they think they're addressing that is not you, and talking to those people about you. And it's this awkward thing where, in the average realistic situation, most people don't actually see those comments, but I see the comment. So it's the only person that's actually reading their comment is the person that they're not directly addressing. It's just a fun little weird thing that happens nowadays. Not just a sort of side topic, really. This underground grass is bothering me. But on the original topic anyway. Of the complaint that happens, and I'm probably putting more thought into this than I should, but I put a lot of thought into a lot of these subjects because I'm often a frequent user of the Let's Play subreddit, where I try to give people advice, and an ongoing thing is that people will also go there, and in much more intelligent context, and actually expecting an answer, unlike many of the poorly thought out comments that I've been mentioning, they will also ask the question of why don't they see channels that don't do commentary, and why do people do commentary and stuff like that? Why do people think that we want to know what your annoying vloggy day and stuff, and when they would look up a video game and everything? And I've tried to answer a lot of these people's questions, and oftentimes they're satisfied with the answer, so I'm just kind of expanding that here as I go. And the idea here of why people comment and why people do commentary all the time on Let's Play channels is relatively straightforward, which is that YouTube's a personality-driven thing. Not just YouTube, Twitch, Vine, so on and so forth. Every place is personality-driven. And that's because people subscribe to people. I know this sounds like a crazy concept, or might be sound like I'm even just not oversimplifying it. It sounds like I might be pointing out something that's overly obvious to some extent, but it needs to be said out loud that people subscribe to other human beings because of some amount of personality. And it's hard to explain this thing to outsiders. Like, you'll show somebody the Let's Player you like, and they're like, it's just some guy talking while they play video games. What makes him any different from everybody else? And in some ways, nothing does, and in other ways, everything does. Because personality is how all of a large chunk of internet entertainment works. Once upon a time, when I was relatively new to watching YouTube videos, I used to watch some guy named Charlie, I think his name was Charlie. He was doing a 365-day vlog project with his fiancée, and I think that it might have been his girlfriend. He might have even proposed to her on the final day of the year or something like that. But like, that's just daily content of people going about their normal lives, and it's just they're vlogging. That's all it is. But vlogging has been a powerful way of getting audience members for a long time on YouTube, to the point of being a stereotype and even a self-parody at times. And that's because the personality is a big deal. And to counter the point of, like, why does everyone do commentary, the real answer is they don't. You only see commentary channels when you search for stuff a lot of the time, because the commentary channels have large audiences, and they get andesite. They're adding new rocks to this game. Whoa, volcanic andesite. I'm sorry, it's my own crazy. Ignore that. Let's fill that part in. Okay, that's cool though. I didn't know they were adding new rocks. It makes sense. It's a mining game that they would slowly expand there. But yeah, especially with the advent of video game platforms where you just can casually hit the share button on your controller and upload a video to YouTube, and no big deal, and you can even edit video within your video game console nowadays and then upload that to YouTube, and it's edited now, and like you can actually do surprisingly professional stuff given the like relatively free tools, ignoring the cost of the console, of course, that are available to a lot of people. The number of commentary free videos is only expanding. They used to be there all the time. They dropped for a bit, I think, around the time that people started doing this for actual channels for the purpose of growing, and but now they're kind of coming back to an extent. But the thing is, those channels don't grow their audiences, and that's an important thing to stress. And the reason why they don't grow is because they don't have personalities. Silent channels are just a video game in its raw form. And so the reason why you don't see everyone doing silent playthroughs of everything, or was someone at one point was like rather condescendingly was like commanding me to upload a silent companion series where they thought I should edit every episode twice, where one with my commentary and one without my commentary, which sure, if I had infinite free time, technically an option, but it's also kind of insulting to say, like, yeah, I like the work you're doing here, but it'd be better without you in it, is sort of what they're saying there, which is shit. But the idea there is that those channels don't grow because they don't have personalities, they're just the video game. And that's worth noting, because I've talked to multiple people now who do look up silent gameplay of people playing video games. I've even talked to a few of my friends at random with no introduction to the topic at all, just to see how they go too. Because when I was on my geology trip at the end of my major, a friend of mine was watching someone play The Last of Us, and this was back when The Last of Us was new, and I hadn't even played it yet. And he was watching a full playthrough in the computer lab between our expeditions, and I asked him who he's watching. He's like, I don't know. But like over the course of that trip, I saw him watch the entire playthrough of The Last of Us, and he didn't know who the channel was that he was watching. And I asked him if it was a good playthrough, and he's like, yeah, this is good. He's doing it the way I want him to. And I asked him if he was going to subscribe, and he said no, because people don't subscribe to silent playthroughs. And yes, I'm sure someone will be all snarky and say that they do, and congratulations, exceptions to everything, every statement ever. But if we have to qualify statements in that way, we will never finish having a conversation. So I'm just going to make the generalization that people don't subscribe to silent channels because it's true, and I've had too much evidence over the course of several years to dispute that at this point. But yeah, people don't subscribe to them. And that's the reason why is precisely because of the situation I just explained, which is that this guy just looked up The Last of Us because he wanted to see a playthrough of it, and he watched the playthrough, and then he went on with his life. Because if you're a silent channel with no personality for people to subscribe to, you're essentially the equivalent of like a library, basically. Like no one's going to subscribe to the local library's freaking YouTube channel. They're just going to look up that place, go take a trip to that location, or so on. Is this the outside ocean? That totally is. They're just going to take a trip to that library whenever they need to find a book. And they're not going to really care necessarily which library it is. Like, people aren't like loyal to specific libraries in many cases. The layman isn't, at least. They're just going to look up the local library. If they move to a different town, they're just going to go to the local library, the one that's near them now. They're not going to go all the way to their previous town to go visit the previous library because they just like the smell of it better or whatever the fuck. Like, no, they just hang out in the library that they have available to them. And the same concept applies to Let's Play channels. If you're just looking up for the sake of the game and not for the person, you're just going to Google the game, basically. Or YouTube search the game, which is essentially Googling it because they're the same company now, and if you Google something and then hit video, you get YouTube results anyway, because that's how they work. That's all you're gonna do is you're like, I want to see this game. You don't want to see a person, you want to see the game, so you'll just look up the game. In fact, if you only care about the games and not what the person is that's playing them, it's actually inefficient to try to be loyal to someone and subscribe to their channel, because you never know what games they're going to play, because no one has time to play every game. So it actually doesn't make sense, even if you want to support somebody, to generally subscribe to a silent channel, because if you can't control what they're playing and you're someone who prioritizes just seeing specific games played, then yeah, by far the most efficient way to get that gameplay is just to Google that video game playthrough and find whatever shows up, click on a few results until you find one that hits whatever arbitrary criteria you're looking for. And that's it. That's the whole process. And that's why generally, aside from a few really weird exceptions I've personally found myself too, silent channels fail. Because what they do is they upload videos for a while. They do a lot of complete playthroughs, they're really dedicated, they do these nice thumbnails and stuff, and yeah, maybe they do get a bunch of clicks. But whenever they, even if the individual videos do well, those videos doing well don't generally translate into new subscribers. And when they upload a video of a slightly less popular game that doesn't necessarily drive stuff, doesn't necessarily bring in new viewers, the type of stuff that would be for your subscribers, for example, they realize how low their baseline is, and they realize just how little they've actually grown. That's an important thing you can do for your audience when you have a Let's Play channel, or any YouTube channel really. More Let's Play channels actually is the specific criteria here, is that there's videos that grow your channel and there's videos that don't. Like when I play a game like The Witness, or when I play Salt and Sanctuary, for example, when I play them right at launch when they're brand new and they're super relevant and everyone's looking up videos of those games, and they get a ton of views that are disproportionate to what a normal video would do on my channel. Then I upload something completely different. I'd say I upload, I don't know, something irrelevant, like Banjo-Tooie on the Nintendo 64, and we see how many people click on that video. That might be a bad example because it's not an RPG, so it doesn't necessarily appeal to my existing audience, but some random RPG, like Dragon Age 2. I randomly start doing Dragon Age 2 from scratch, and the views will be lower because it's not growing my channel. People aren't actively looking up that game, so I won't be bringing in outside people. So the numbers I get for views will be reflective instead of my existing audience, as they are right now. And you can learn a lot about how big your audience is that way. And when a silent channel uploads anything that's a little less relevant, or say they upload video of a popular game but they don't get the proper search rankings, so they're not bringing in new people because they get flooded out by all the big popular channels, they see how many views they're getting, often like 3, not even exaggerating there, and they'll realize, oh, I don't have an audience. and they'll realize that whenever if like they don't have people actively watching their stuff, they don't have a community, that people aren't excitedly commenting on each video about how happy they are that you keep uploading, or how it's great to see more content from you and stuff like that, or even just like taking an interest in how you're playing the game. Like, none of that stuff is happening because they don't have an audience. Even if they do manage to get a few thousand views here and there by getting lucky with the search results, those people aren't sticking around, and that's very disheartening. And so the most common result, really, is just that the channel shuts down sooner or later. They stick around for a while. They think maybe they'll grow. They rationalize a few things, or they just say, I'm just doing it for fun anyway, so whatever. But the problem with the just doing it for fun approach is that sooner or later you want to do something else with your time than dedicate your time to this channel. Because for a Let's Play channel to grow and stick around and have longevity to it, the person has to be dedicated to it for a long time. And if you aren't dedicated, then the channel dies. And why would you dedicate yourself to a channel with no audience that you've put years of time into, that, like, where the only real motivation to continue is basically just the sunk cost fallacy? That's not a good way to run your life. You want to go join that volleyball team or whatever the fuck you were planning on doing. Go play airsoft with your friends and do D&D nights, or work on your degree or anything else with your time that isn't slaving away for a YouTube channel that no one's watching and that you probably don't get gratification out of, because no one's there for you. They're only there for the games. And that's problematic. You're like the equivalent of an image search result at that point. So yes, I do commentary because people subscribe for me, and it's my thing. Because it'd be really disheartening even if I could make a successful channel that was silent, because at some point, yeah, I would just be putting a bunch of time into a project that, like, specifically does not include me inside of it, which is a super weird thing to do with my time. You got to imagine. It's like, so ultimately there isn't the incentive there on both sides of the equation to have silent Let's Play channels. The people that actually form audiences in the first place, like people that are audience members, aren't looking for silent channels. If you're looking for silent channels, you're generally not the type of person who actually adds yourself to the audience in the first place. You're oftentimes the person that just leaves the channel the moment that they finish the thing that you wanted to see, and that's it. So it's pointless. There's no reason to make or subscribe to a silent channel, and that's relatively straightforward, open and closed case of destroying the entire thing. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's why everyone is a Markiplier or a PewDiePie and stuff like that. And that's why the personality goes a step further, in that the more people get into your personality and what they like about you, the more they're likely to subscribe, which is why so many people on Twitch and so many the very, very, very most popular YouTube channels often have face cams, because that's essentially the next step in a weird way. I don't like it. I personally think that face cams usually add nothing to the experience for normal gameplay. I think they're kind of annoying in many cases. I when I watch them on even channels that I like, a lot of the times, like I've been watching some videos of Funhouse lately, and it bothers me that sometimes the face cam actually covers important parts of the screen because they feel that it's mandatory to include. And I understand why they do it, because it's that business model of expanding your audience and so on. But it sometimes is detrimental. And I don't do face cam because generally I'm playing super long RPGs or puzzle games. Like, I've been doing this whole rant for who knows how long right now that you're listening to. And my face is probably mostly static, honestly, a lot of the time. By the way, you're watching me do the type of bullshit I usually do in this game, which is I start trying to even out walls here and there, because it bothers me when stuff is overly asymmetrical or has weird discontinuities to it. So I often invest excessive amounts of time to that. This whole series is going to be me talking about random nonsense while I basically just go through weird OCD patterns of mining / randomly start building something out of stone that is a weird pattern that comes to my head, because the majority of my time playing in Minecraft is just building weird structures, often with just the basic materials available all the time, as opposed to any of the stuff that any of the stuff that's actually like hard to find or you'd have to craft very carefully. But right now I'm just sort of building out the basic living quarters where we can have like, there's our workbench, we have an entranceway and a way deeper into the mines and so on. And so on. And I'm losing my train of thought, which is a great, really great. I'd start ranting in various directions and so on. But anyway, I just sat down to answer the question about like why people don't subscribe, and I think I've more or less like why people don't do silent videos, and I think I've more or less addressed that topic in this video. And yeah, to summarize, the idea is that people do make silent videos, but they don't grow an audience because people don't subscribe to silent channels. If you make a silent channel, you have to resign yourself to the idea that at the end of the day, you're creating a resource rather than a community. You're making a thing that people look up, which is fine. It's kind of like how people look up a game facts guide for a game. Oftentimes, they're not going to subscribe to your game facts profile to see all your future guides because they don't really care if you go on to write a guide about Tales of Zestiria after you originally wrote a guide about Transformers War for Cybertron or whatever random unrelated thing I could think of besides that. They're just looking up a resource, they use the resource, they move on. I use game facts all the time if I really need to, and guess what? I don't know the name of a single person that makes guides on that website, because it's a resource. That's just how it works. So silent playthroughs are basically the equivalent of a dictionary on YouTube. They're perfectly functional, and people look them up for specific reasons, be it for entertainment or for reference. But at the end of the day, they just exist, independent of personality, and they won't grow audiences, and that's why we don't do it. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So this has been our weird test run of this thing. It might become more comfortable over time, or I might get into a certain flow, and the format might change from time to time, but this is more or less what the series is going to be. It's Q&A with the side of Minecraft. I'm going to play Minecraft, screwing around. I'll probably eventually have big projects of things I'm building over time. But right now I'm just getting the basic shelter so I don't get murdered in the middle of the night every day. And we'll just go from here. So go ahead and ask questions below. I've got a text document with like a couple dozen questions saved up from various times I've asked for questions. They're leftovers of ones I haven't gotten to from really old ones, and then of course all the questions from the most recent Q&A that I haven't actually addressed yet. So feel free to leave questions, I'll get around to answering them, we'll have long discussions. This is probably a series where you probably are best off leaving it on in the background and listening to it, but if you want to watch it, it gives you kind of a mellow thing to watch while you listen to my voice go on for ages about topics you hopefully care about. And if you don't care about the topic I'm talking about in a particular episode, you can just go ahead and skip that episode and just come back next time where the topic will be totally different, probably. That's the idea anyway. Thanks for watching like always, guys. Be sure to check out my Patreon if you want to find out how to support what I do and all this insanity that I'm putting my time into. And I'll see you guys next time. Hopefully this will be a long and enjoyed series, at least for some people. It's totally an experiment. See you guys next time.